Mello had begged his parents for months to let him take his young sister, Calendra, out hunting. He argued it was time for her to learn about the world beyond the safety of Lyndhurst. His parents, protective and cautious, had always declined, but Mello was persistent. He was 17 now, nearly a man, and had earned a reputation as a skilled hunter. With the promise he would keep her safe, they finally relented. At sunrise, Mello and Calendra set out into Ferndale, the light flickering through the thick canopy of trees. Calendra skipped beside him, her small hands clutching a pouch filled with snacks that their mother had packed. Her excitement was contagious, and Mello found himself smiling as he led the way deeper into the forest. As the day progressed, Mello noticed how quickly Calendra was learning. She was eager, soaking up his lessons with a bright smile and a determined spirit. When they paused for a break, he showed her to use a small dagger, guiding her hands as she practiced simple movements. "It's not just for fighting," he explained. "It's a tool, a way to survive out here." Calendra nodded solemnly, her brows furrowed in concentration as she sliced at imaginary foes. Mello laughed, ruffling her hair. "You're a natural," he joked. By afternoon, they had come across a large tree, perfect for climbing. Mello thought it was a great opportunity to teach her to climb, a skill that could one day save her very life. As he started his ascent, showing off to make her laugh, he became distracted, caught up in his own enthusiasm. When he finally looked down, Calendra was gone. Panic surged through him. "Calendra!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the forest. There was no reply, only the eerie stillness of the trees. He scrambled down the tree, his heart hammering in his chest. Frantically searching, he called her name over and over, but there was no sign of her. The forest suddenly felt ominous, the shadows deeper and more threatening. His gaze soon fell upon a soft glow in the brush nearby, a wisp's portal. His heart sank as he realized where she must have gone. He approached the shimmering portal, its edges pulsing with a soft, ethereal light. Fear gripped him, but he couldn't let it stop him. He knew he had to go in after her. Taking a deep breath, he stepped through the portal. On the other side, the world was different. The mists were a place of legend, a realm that few from Lyndhurst had ever seen and returned to tell the tale. The air was thick with tension, and the landscape was twisted and alien. Ancient trees with blackened bark reached toward a sky that was perpetually dim. The light filtered through a haze of swirling fog. Mello wandered the mist for what felt like an eternity. The once familiar landscape of Ferndale now a distant memory. The trees here twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching out like the claws of some unseen beast. The fog is thick, suffocating even, and the air was filled with strange sounds, whispers, rustling leaves, and distant growls. But all of it paled in comparison to the silence of not hearing Calendra's voice. He searched tirelessly, calling her name until his throat was raw, but there was no answer. The sun, if it could be called that, never fully broke through the mist, leaving the world in a perpetual twilight. Mello's heart sank even deeper with each passing hour, his fear for his sister growing into a crushing weight upon his chest. As the night fell, he found a small clearing and gathered what little dry wood he could find, his hands trembling of exhaustion. He managed to coax a weak flame from the tinder, the small fire doing little to chase away the chill of the night. Sitting beside the fire, Mello stared into the flickering flames, his mind replaying the events of the day over and over again. "This is all my fault," he whispered to himself, the guilt gnawing at him. He had promised to protect her, to keep her safe, and he had failed. The thought of what his parents must be going through, wondering where their children were, fearing the worst, was almost too much to bear. He closed his eyes, tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face as memories of better times filled his mind. He saw Calendra smile, heard her laughter as they played in the meadow near Lyndhurst. He remembered the nights they spent huddled together, sharing stories and secrets. The weight of those memories pressed down on him, mixing with the guilt and despair that threatened to swallow him whole. The days, or was it weeks, blurred together as Mello continued his desperate search. His food soon ran out, leaving him to scavenge what little he could find in the hostile environment. Drinkable water was scarce, and his body grew weaker with each passing day. The dangers of the mist took their toll. He bore cuts, bruises, and wounds from encounters with creatures he could not even name. It was on one of these endless days that his strength finally gave out. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the fog, Mello collapsed in the middle of a field. The world spun around him, his vision blurring as he struggled to stay conscious. As he lay there, staring up at the darkened sky, his life flashed before his very eyes. He saw his parents, their faces full of love and pride. He saw Calendra as a baby, a toddler, as the bright-eyed girl who had begged him to go hunting. Every memory was a knife twisting in his heart. His vision began to fade, the world around him slipping away as blackness encroached from the edges of his sight. When he awoke, he was no longer in the field. Instead, he found himself lying on a cot, the fabric rough against his skin. His body was heavy, too weak to move, and his head throbbed with a dull pain. The scent of herbs filled the air, and as his eyes slowly adjusted to the dim light, he saw two women in robes hovering over him, tending to his wounds. Where am I?" he croaked, his voice barely more than a whisper. One of the women, her face scarred and lined with age, placed a cool hand on his forehead. "Hush now, child," she said softly. "You are safe now." Mello's heart seized in his chest. "My sister." His voice was hoarse with desperation. "She's all alone out there. I need to find her." The two women exchanged a look, a silent communication passing between them. Mello saw the sadness in their eyes, and his heart sank even further. The other woman, younger with soft brown eyes, knelt beside him. "Rest now," she said, her voice soothing. "You've been through so much. Your sister, she's lost in the mist. It's a dangerous place and—" She hesitated, her words trailing off. But Mello didn't need her to finish the sentence. He understood the unspoken truth. The chances of Calendra surviving on her own in the mist were slim, almost non-existent. But he couldn't accept it, not fully, not yet. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he was too exhausted to cry. "I promised her. I promised I'd keep her safe." His voice broke, the weight of his failure pressing down on him like a physical force. The older woman gently guided him to lay back down, her touch comforting in its warmth. "You need to rest, child," she whispered. "You've done all you could." Mello's vision began to blur again, his body too weak to fight the pull of sleep. As he drifted back into unconsciousness, one thought remained, clear and unwavering in his mind. If he could not make it back home with his sister, safe, he could never return home again.